Hey, everybody. Welcome to the B2B Revenue Leadership Podcast. Hey, what we do on this podcast is talk about what B2B sales and marketing leaders, operators, and experts are doing today to really break through and grow their businesses at exponential levels. Let's get it in the interview. At the end, I'll give you an update on my courses, and you can check out my website at b2brevenue.com, and it's Brian G. Burns on LinkedIn. Hey, Oliver, welcome to the show. As a way of getting started, tell us about yourself.
Sure. So I founded Everpeak Partners. It actually started as a sort of a freelance Salesforce consulting business. I was working at a couple different firms and doing work on the side. And after doing that for a few years, I basically left my full-time job and started Everpeak Partners. And at first it was just me and a few other folks. And I was basically running all the projects.
Yeah.
Plug my laptop in here. It's going to die. There we go. It was just me and a few other folks. I was running every project. I was doing all the sales. I was doing everything. And it really kind of snowballed very largely from a combination of doing good work, building a reputation, and also building a partnership with Salesforce, which is how we get about half our business.
Yeah. Cool. That seems to be the way to go. I've got a lot of friends who are in, different services business. And I always say, well, find a vendor that doesn't want to be in the service business and partner with them. And do you have a sales force today of salespeople?
So I do, it's really interesting. We have, for a while, we've had enough inbound sales that we not really had that need. And I'm very fortunate that the niche that I've picked has there's a little bit more demand than there is supply, so to speak. So just existing for one, and then not screwing up in some ways is enough to do all right. Yeah. But at the same time, I am very ambitious, and I do a lot of customer success, and I do build relationships with businesses that can refer us business. And I've found that to be a really effective way of doing sales. I've done a little bit of cold calling, which I've actually closed a few deals from cold calling, which has proved to me that it works. But for the most part, I just feel like I'm annoying people most of the time.
Yeah. Right. It's trying to find people with the right time, with the right problem.
Yeah. I mean, generally my pitch is basically, if they're not on Salesforce, I don't want to convince them to get on it because that's too hard. And the Salesforce AEs make more money than we do from getting them on licenses that have recurring revenue, and it doesn't cost them a dime. Maybe a dime for the server stuff, but yeah, basically our whole focus is you're on Salesforce, you've been using it for however long, a few months, a few years, 10 years, whatever. There's probably a few cooks in the kitchen. There's probably some things that don't fully connect, and there's likely some room for optimization, whether it's better reports and dashboards, more automation, revamping your process, integrating third-party systems. And so my pitch is basically, hey, I'm not really a sales guy. I've got 4 Salesforce certs. I've been consulted with 200 clients, and I will come in, depending on the size, usually maybe 1 to 3 hours. I'll do an evaluation, give you free advice. If you want to work with us, work with us. If you want to do it yourself, do it yourself. But just a way to build a relationship.
And who do you typically work with within the account? Is it sales operations? Is it IT? Is it VP of sales?
IT usually goes in circles.
Yeah.
Typically, it is a sales director. Sometimes it's sales operations, but a lot of the work that we do is Sales Cloud, which is what most people think of when they think of Salesforce. And they have tons of other products for service, marketing, um, etc. But and we do work with some of those other products, but we found kind of the easiest area to sell into, and really where a lot of our expertise lies is in the sort of sales operations and really just sort of optimizing the core CRM. And so typically a sales director is the one who cares about that because his team can be more efficient and he can get better data if we do our jobs.
Yeah. And what is the typical situation that you run into? Is it people have just been misusing it, or have they kind of dug themselves into a hole by misinterpreting how to use it, or
All of the above.
yeah,
Most of the clients that reach out to us have a specific issue.
yeah,
So they say, hey, our reports and dashboards are not great. We'd love some advice on how to get better data, and we'd like you to give us best practices on how to build out reports and dashboards to be more conducive to our actual needs versus whatever some guy built 3 years ago.
yeah? And do you do this on premise, or can you do it all remotely?
We do both. It's probably split. When I started the business, so we're based in Portland, Oregon. We had no clients in the area. It took me about 15 before I got one local.
Yeah,
Recently, I'd say the majority of the clients that we pick up are local just because I've geared things to go that way.
yeah. So you had to travel, or
No, I just had relationships from, I'd been doing consulting for a few years before. Actually had a non-compete that had expired.
yeah,
So I reached out to every client that I could on that one that had expired. And when I started the business, that was actually a way to kind of get things going because I already had a relationship. They knew who I was. And actually, the previous consulting firm kind of dropped the ball on some of their clients because they were so busy.
yeah.
And so having a guy who's got a lot of time and they already know just made sense.
And how do you network within Salesforce to kind of get your name passed around?
Well, that's a good question. So our clients all have Salesforce account executives. And so I'll just introduce myself to them, and usually I'll set up a meeting. If I can, I'll do it in person, but usually it's just a phone call, get to know them. And a lot of them will visit Portland to see their clients. And so I'll take them out to dinner and just get to know them. And if they check in with their client, they have good things to say and they know that we're around, they'll often bring us new business.
Yeah. And but how do you compete against like the Blue Wolves and the Deloittes, the people who show up at Dreamforce with the $100,000 booths?
We give a lot more personal attention.
Yeah,
As the founder and CEO, we have never had a client that I have not been involved in the sales process with. And so I think we're a lot easier to work with. I
yeah,
put a lot of emphasis on, I mean, every relationship is different, but some of our clients are texting the consultants, and, if it's a high pressure situation, we can work outside of business hours, and we just try to be easy to work with and obviously have our bases covered with core technical expertise and business analysis, but really try to bring a little bit of a, um, that kind of like the white glove treatment, so to
Yeah.
speak.
And what's the main challenge people are facing today? Is it connecting up whatever they're using for marketing automation and then Sales Cloud?
I mean, every challenge is a little bit different, but we do a lot of integrations with third-party systems. A lot of companies are doing double data entry, which
Yeah.
is, as I'm sure you can imagine, just a waste of time. And we'll even do a calculation where we say, hey, this is going to be $10,000 to integrate, but if you can save, you know, $2,000 a month in labor, there's a break even point that you'll hit, and then it's just profit, or just efficiency after that.
Yeah. And do you run into a lot of people that want fixed price versus just on retainer?
So we typically bid our projects based off of hours.
Yeah.
And we some projects, if it's something that is like, hey, we have these 4 Excel files, take a look at them, import them for us, build these 60 fields that are missing from it.
Yeah.
I can say, this is going to be 15 hours, and it's more clear cut. A lot of our projects are not clear cut because they don't know what they want.
Right. Oh, and they don't know what they can do, because it's software.
Yeah. I mean, they're learning the capabilities as we go, and a lot of it is us showing them. I mean, if we scope out a project, every scope changes, and so we focus on communication with the client so that they understand where we're at. Hey, we've got 80 hours for this project. Are we on track? Do we want to go over? Do we want to plan to go over? And as long as the dialogue is open, projects seem to go well.
Yeah. And where do you see this space going? The sales tech space. Do you go beyond? I'm sure you do, beyond just Sales Cloud. I'm sure you have a pretty good vantage point and seeing what's next.
Yeah, so Sales Cloud is pretty saturated. It's I mean, anyone in sales has heard of Salesforce,
Yeah,
and
it's no
likely
mystery.
uses it too. There are a lot of other products that people don't know as well, and I think over the next 5 to 10 years, they're going to become just grow exponentially. So Community Cloud is a product that we work with. Basically allows you to have a portal, so you can have partners that submit leads. If you have partners who are giving you tons of business, they can actually have their own dashboard. They can get analytics. You can have a leaderboard where your partners who refer you business are competing against each other, get prizes. There are all kinds of cool things that you can do with this one product. And we're also getting into a product called B2B Commerce Cloud, which is basically like an e-commerce storefront that integrates with your CRM, especially if you sell something more expensive online or you sell in bulk. You want that data in your CRM. So, a lot of other products are growing, and I think our focus is really some of these extra products, and our core, the products we work with are Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Pardot, CPQ, Community Cloud, and B2B Commerce Cloud. So a lot more than just the CRM. But most of our work still is the core CRM optimization. And then maybe a fifth of it is new implementation.
Yeah. And what's your challenge as a CEO as far as growing the company? It sounds like the demand is there. Do you have the supply of consultants available?
Sometimes that is actually a sales job.
Yeah.
In fact, sometimes it's asking my consultants to take on more work when they're busy, and finding new labor. And that is the single hardest part of running a firm like this, because we actually absorb all the high and low demand needs of our clients, because a lot of our clients don't have a full-time Salesforce admin. They're mostly in the maybe 20 to 500 employee range. Some of them do, some of them have a half admin. There's quite a range, but our workload goes up and down and up and down. And so balancing that with the, I call them talent.
With talent,
with our talent.
Yeah.
Balancing those two is definitely a challenge. And for a long time, we were short on the labor, where I wasn't really pushing as hard to get new projects, because I can't just overload us. But then more recently, I've hired a bit more. I've actually used a recruiter to help out. And now we're actually a little bit better staffed, and we do have some room to get new projects. And so I'm getting more into sales mode.
Cool. And how do you find it working with sales leaders, being an engineer?
Stories work really well.
Yeah.
It's less, talking about clients who were in the same place as them. They were, whether it's data challenges, reporting, automation, process, user adoption is a big one as well. So doing training and really like analyzing where they're not fully utilizing the system. And just saying, hey, we've done a project just like yours. This was the outcome. And by the way, if you'd like, we're happy to give you connect you with them, and you can hear it direct from them, because I know that means a lot more. I'm biased. Whoever's selling you something is going to be biased. But if you want to talk to them.
There's kind of a culture difference. Like, I'm kind of on the sales side, and I would probably want a forecast and a dashboard, and make it super easy for my salespeople to enter the information as little as possible, so it takes up as little of their time. Because Salesforce really kind of created the CRM space. It always existed, but no one ever used it. And now managers could see a dashboard and a forecast instead of passing around a spreadsheet once a week. So what ends up happening is now the reps, it becomes almost the focus of selling versus a byproduct of the selling.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you find communicating with them? Because I'm sure they don't talk about the inner workings of Salesforce. They just want a dashboard. They just want the forecast to populate.
Yeah, so that's why they hire us, is they don't have to worry about that. Part of our job is we try to articulate, like, hey, this is really simple for us to do. We'll do it in half an hour. It's going to work. Or, hey, we've got to write 4 pages of custom code because what you want is way outside the box.
Yeah.
We take care of that. And then we present it to them, train them on it, and they get to use it.
And how many fire drills do you get where they're trying to do something and they assume it's either you or Salesforce's problem?
It pops up from time to time in various degrees. Sometimes we have something that blocks their sales team from using the system. And if that's the case, then we're on top of it. And part of having a team versus one admin is if their admin's out, then you're kind of screwed. With us, if maybe your consultant, maybe you haven't been actively working with us, you come back and you've got some problem, which, happens from time to time, where they call us and they say, our stuff's broken, our reps can't use this thing, or like even worse is like some workflow is broken and it just triggered these emails out to one of our clients that was not supposed to get that email.
Yeah.
And we like to provide value, and we know that there is value in speed and efficiency. And so if someone else on our team can get involved, we do see those fire drills where we have to get in and fix something quick.
Cool. And have you ever thought of building your own kind of product on top of Salesforce, or seen a need that isn't being fulfilled out there?
I've had ideas, but right now I'm a big believer in not taking on too much.
Yeah.
And we've got plenty going on with the consulting business.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, for the people who are listening and want to learn more about you and your company, where should they go?
You can add me on LinkedIn. My name is Oliver Shoulder. That's Shoulder spelled with no U. Or you can go to everpeakpartners.com.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that interview. Hey, I want to make sure you're checking out B2BRevenue.com. That is where you can get a free copy of an ebook that I did. It's a real ebook. It's not a fluff book. It shows and talks about how companies make buying decisions and how you can influence that from both a marketing and a sales standpoint, how to find all the people that are in the decision path and what they need to see, know, and touch and feel before they make a product selection. If your team needs some coaching, some help, some training, some systems, some processes that do work today, because we know what doesn't work, or what doesn't work, I'll show you what does work and how to connect and get into pretty much any account. It includes deal coaching and content, community, and I can customize it for your particular company. Just go to b2brevenue.com, look under training, schedule a call with me. We can talk it over, or just sign up. You can pay per month or all at once, whichever makes most sense for your budget. Also, I put out videos pretty much daily on LinkedIn and on YouTube. On LinkedIn, it's Brian G. Burns, and on YouTube, it's Brian Burns Sales. Just search for that if you like to consume some video content. And if you see me on LinkedIn, please put a comment and a share and a like on some of the videos. I really appreciate it. I've got a company page for each podcast. This one, the B2B Revenue Leadership Podcast, where I put both content and humor videos out daily. And tell a friend about the podcast. Really appreciate you listening. Check out the show notes for all the partners and the connections you can make there, the coupon codes for the products to evaluate them, see if they're a right match for you. And we'll see you next time.